Hi, I'm Mike Antonacci, and I'm here to help you become the hero God is calling you to be. And today I'm talking about calling, and it's the thing that you can't not do. Which, yes, I know that's a double negative, so I'll explain what that means. Think about your heroes from movies. And I'm going to use Luke Skywalker as my go-to example, but you could insert any hero, especially superheroes. Usually at the start of the movie, they're just an ordinary person dreaming of more. Honestly, pretty much every Disney princess also fits into this, or any Disney movie in general. But if you think about it, those heroes, the great call that they have is part of their identity. I mean, Luke Skywalker is a Jedi. He still needs to be trained, but that's just so much a core of who he is. He just has to discover it. It's waiting there. It's not something external he has to go and see or external and go and find. It's there within himself. And so, similarly, each of us has an extraordinary call that God has put in us. He's designed a mission for us, He's designed a story for us that we are heroes in, and He wants us to live out that call. And relating to that specific call for each of us, there's also the more general one of state in life. So usually when we talk about vocational discernment, we're talking about marriage or consecrated life, whether priesthood, religious life, that sort of thing. That will shape the way that we live out our particular call. Even our temperament. Some people are more impulsive, some people are not. Our temperament is our expression that we give to our humanity. All of these things shape our call. Another thing as part of this call is the hero doesn't know the whole story. I mean, in a lot of cases, they don't know the hardship they're going to go through. Luke Skywalker doesn't know that he's going to have his hand sliced off, for example. Do you think, had he known it, would he have said yes? Had he known it, would he have gone with Obi-Wan Kenobi to find Princess Leia and give this message that he had seen? I'm not sure. I mean, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts in the comments. I mean, granted, some other things in the movie did happen that meant he couldn't stay on Tatooine any longer. But I think the same is true of our own lives. You could ask someone who's been in their vocation, whether priest, married, been in it for like 50 years, and ask if you at the altar, and this applies both for priesthood and marriage, because at the altar is where you get consecrated. Anyway, if you at the altar knew all that you would have to go through as part of saying yes, as part of saying I do, as part of hearing you are a priest forever, would you have done it? I think for a lot of people that would be a hard question. But God, in His mercy, doesn't show us everything, so that way He can draw us gradually to Himself. And so we take each step. So for your own call, take the first step. And once you take the first step, then take the next step. And a lot of times the path starts to become clearer as you're in motion, and it might not be the same exact path that you took. Luke and Obi-Wan thought they were just going to go to Alderaan and deliver a message, but they get to Alderaan and they find it's destroyed. And then the Death Star comes in and takes them on board and all of that. Luke didn't know when he woke up that day that eventually he would be the guy that blows up the Death Star. But that's what he did. It all started with following the next step. One interesting thing with my own life is seeing how God prepared me to be a missionary, even though for a while I had like no idea that I was going to be doing that at all. And two of the areas that he was able to prepare me in, one was through fraternity recruitment. I really enjoyed fraternity recruitment, meeting freshmen and then telling them about this thing, this fraternity that was really helpful for me, and building a friendship with them, and then inviting them over to the house, inviting them to join, all of that sort of thing. And how that was, I didn't know that about myself. I didn't know I had that skill set either. And that in a way I do that as a missionary. Obviously it's different too. And the second one was my love of TED Talks and learning and sharing that with other people, which God definitely used as a missionary as well. Now, I wouldn't have necessarily predicted that the fulfillment of those two desires was going to be missionary life, and He could have fulfilled those desires in other ways. But that's just a cool way of Him preparing me and seeing, this makes sense as the next step. And speaking of preparation, all the things that we're doing earlier are getting us to be better at what we're doing now. So one example from the Bible is King David. So he's a shepherd and he's guarding his sheep from like lions and bears and everything, and actually fights them off. And so when Goliath comes and is challenging the Israelites, the whole Philistine army is challenging the Israelites, he comes and he's like, I'm going to take this guy down. because he's been practicing. He is able to defend, he's able to fight because he's practiced. And on the flip side, that's like a positive practice. He can also practice for negative things. So normally kings go out to war at a certain time of year. And he decided, nah, I'm just going to stay at home. And from there, he sees Bathsheba bathing and then, commits adultery with her and then has her husband killed. So he was practicing the bad sort of thing. When bringing it back to Star Wars, Luke never would have been able to make the shot that destroyed the Death Star had he not been practicing as a pilot on Tatooine or shooting womp rats, which apparently were, smaller than the target that the Death Star was going to be. That what he was doing before was preparing him for his next step. So the question for you is, and you might not even know this, maybe just a thing to think about, is what is your next step? What are these desires God has put on your heart? What's the thing that you can't not do? Like the thing that you know that you have to do, this thing that's part of your identity, because that is ultimately what your calling is. And it's not just for you. Yes, it will make you more fulfilled and happy, whatever. Yes, it will include suffering, but it's also for other people. That God gives our talents so that we share them with others. So he's purposely set it up so no one has everything they need. We have to share. P.S. Be a hero today.